I felt ripped off by the companies I was doing business with. So everything that we've kind of centered around and like the philosophy and culture that we built is kind of to protect, like these gym owners should be building gyms and focusing on providing value to their customers. Mm-hmm. End of story. That's what they love doing anyways, right? Then that's what they're good at.
Welcome to the Best Hour of Their Day podcast with your hosts, Jason Fernandez.
And me, Jason Ackerman. With more than 20 years in the business,
as both coaches and affiliate owners,
our passion is to help create world-class affiliates
and coaches by building
better boxes. Welcome to
the Best Hour of Your Day.
What's the vice president thing?
Oh, no, not vice president particularly, but I think one of the mistakes a lot of companies make when they're smaller is they over-title because that's how you compensate someone. So it's like, hey, come to the company. Money. You can be C something O or vice president of this, but then reality is as you grow.
Have you met our chief marketing officer?
Mm-hmm. Case in point.
And vice president of marketing.
And vice president of travel.
Also king of marketing.
He's chief vice president.
Do you report to the emperor of marketing now? Or?
That's me.
Yeah, so, I mean, if I can go back in time and do it all over again, like the titling becomes a problem. If you over-title early and you do grow, then you end up with people who are mistitled and then misaligned, both in compensation and in job expectation. Like, oh, you've got to be able to do this now all of a sudden, but they don't have the resources to get there. So it's an interesting and touchy potentially.
Well, we kind of just had this conversation. Like
me and you?
Me, you, and Marcus. What was it, 2 weeks ago when we were talking?
When?
Yeah, he wasn't there. He was there. He was not there.
In my mind, I was
thinking about stem cells.
Yeah, but he's like, oh, my butthole. No, when we were talking about, hey, like we don't need managers. Like we need people that can manage themselves, but we need people that are doers. So that actually, when we grow the business, I'm like, I don't need, like, if you can't manage yourself, like we're not a big enough company and we're moving too fast that we need somebody to be like, all right, well, let's make everything that's in order, because it actually stifles speed. I'm not saying that you don't need organization, but at some point, managers just halt productivity.
Yep. Yeah, we, not from the manager end, but we actually, there's a phenomenon where like the more people you add, the slower you get.
I believe that.
Yeah, and it's obvious until you're like actually at a position where you can hire more people and you're thinking like, oh, we bring in like 3 people to do this stuff and it's going to get faster. But really it's like every person you add, like I say you have 10 people and you add 1 person, there's 11, you add 11 communication points, right? Mm-hmm. Or it's just like an exponential growth thing. So it's like the communication, the coordination, everything grinds to a halt if you add too many people too fast. That was another mistake we made.
Well, and I think especially when you go virtual, it adds a whole another layer of complexity. Yeah. I was talking to Cody and Nate about this actually, where it's like a lot of miscommunications, a lot of like too many meetings, because a lot of little stuff happens in the office where I don't need a meeting. Like, hey Dan, I need X, yeah. And then also some default meeting, 30 minutes on your calendar. It's like that was a 5. Why does it have to be?
Everything's 30.
Yeah. So it's like lots of...
Fucking Google won't give you less.
Yeah, well, you can, but it's like the default,
it's a hassle,
right?
Yeah.
So it's like there's a lot of complexity when you go for communication styles, right? Because we didn't have all the chit-chat. We just get...
You just pop by someone's cube.
Yeah.
Hey, I need this. Okay, cool. I'll give it to you tomorrow. Done.
Right.
Yeah.
Which is funny because a lot of people will argue the opposite of that, which is there's just a ton of wasted time in the office because people are bullshitting and all this other stuff, and everybody looks like they're busy because they're going to and from. So it's just like, oh, there's activity, there's movement over there. Jay's going to the fucking water fountain.
Peeing. I got to pee.
Yeah, he has to pee 78 times a day.
But like, Katie, we love Katie, but she'll be like, oh, we're going to do this little, she doesn't call it an icebreaker, but it's like, here's a win, here's this. I'm like, what are we doing? What's the meeting? Like, I know all of you, like, I don't need this. Like,
well, you're the far end of the spectrum with Jay. If he could get out of every meeting ever, like including like talking to Marcus and I, he absolutely would.
Mm-hmm.
He's your high energy IC that you're looking for.
What's that?
IC is what you're asking for. The individual contributor, like somebody who like hits the ground, gets jobs done.
IC.
No, that's not him either.
Oh.
He just doesn't want to be in a meeting.
He just wants to go to the bathroom.
Yeah.
No, I just hit me like, if this can be an email, make it an email.
There is a concept that Jeff Bezos, I study Amazon a shit ton, but Bezos says...
Just me and Jeff doing this IC stuff.
The more communication you have to have, the worse your company is. It's actually the opposite of what people think, right? Like,
This is actually when because we went through.
You are. I want to work for PushPress. First of all, can I come on board?
She's like, meaning that if I communicate 0, that I am at the peak of operating.
I need to be a vice
Peak
president.
operations.
Though. I need to be a vice president.
You'd be the vice president of communication.
And there is no communication.
Nobody.
But keep going with that. Like,
oh no, just the more you can get people structured into pods where they can just be autonomous and do what they have to do themselves, the better you are. The more you have to say like, oh, we're gonna do this, but I need to let marketing know and I need to let operations know, and then the sales team doesn't understand what we're doing. The more that you create these situations where everyone's dependent on understanding what someone else is doing, the slower your company gets. So Amazon structured everything into self-contained pods that could execute and deliver themselves, and we're not reliant on anybody else.
Have you? They. I don't know if they still do this. I forget who was talking about this. They used to have a policy, I guess you would call it there, where the default answer was yes. So if a subordinate or somebody had an idea, the supervisor was on the hook to say no, but he had to give a legitimate reason. So like if I was, hey, Dan, I think we should do this. If you're a supervisor, this sucks, but it would be your job to essentially write essentially a one-page, a one sheet that would be like, this is why we can't do this. And it would be like, oh, cool. But so what came out of that policy was Amazon Web Services, because somebody's like, we need to do web services, and nobody could be like, this is a fucking terrible idea. And like, so we have Amazon Web Services now. But he's like, but that came from somebody like all the way at the bottom.
Yeah, it was an engineer.
I love that. I want to implement that. And to be fair, I think we do a pretty good job of that.
You're going to have to write a lot of papers.
No, because I'm just going to be like, yeah, let's go. Let's do it. Bring it to Fern.
So I think what you were saying, and again, I don't know everything about what they did, but they did have this. They did write a lot of memos, and they did have. It was more like they were trying to build a company of innovation.
Right.
So it was like anybody can come up with any idea anywhere. Right. But you had to back it up with data and facts, and you had to
do the homework. You just couldn't lob an idea into the room. Yeah.
So I don't know if what I was writing right before we left, which I hit send and felt really good about, was my memo to my board. It was a quarterly board memo. So Amazon style, like 6-page memo, shit ton of data, ton of research. Took me a week to do. Like, blew my brain up doing it. But yeah, the amount of energy that goes into these memos creates enough conviction where you've like, I've done the homework, I've thought through all the things. Here's my presentation. I still believe this. Then it would be up to the executives to start actually looking through it and trying to understand if it does or doesn't work. Yeah.
Right.
But it's a rigorous process.
Is it worth the time and energy you put into it?
Ooh, that's a good question. I have so interestingly enough, like someone I'm actually working with was reported to Bezos.
Okay.
So I got insight. Like when they actually implemented these 6-pagers and PR facts and 1-pagers, like whole company pushed back on it. But what they found over time was like they got more critical thought, they had better discussions, they were able to think through not just someone's feelings, but like the entire picture in one fell swoop. And they didn't have to listen to someone's half-baked idea. Like you don't entertain the thought until someone's put enough energy into it that it's worth.
It's a full thought.
Yeah.
It's not just be like, oh, this would be fun. I'm like, yeah, a lot of things would be fun, man.
We've gotten also better at that, where it used to be like bomb versus like, here's the idea, thought out.
Well, I mean, everything that we're discussing here is centered on communication. Now, there's multiple mediums for communication, but, you know, here's what I think we, meaning Jay and Marcus and I do. I honestly think we do this very, very well, is the three of us communicate very well between each other with ideas and conflict. And like as much as he and I argue and banter back and forth, like we do, there's always a clear line. We're like, hey, this is a serious topic and we need to hash this out. And I think we always come to it. Like I can't think of anything where we like concluded we're like, one of us was in disagreement. Like we always get to the point where we're like, yep, everybody's on board with that.
Well, we also usually just be like, all right, Fern, you win.
That's fine.
Yeah.
I think that's actually
no one wants to argue with Fern.
This is
is that what happens? You just win every time?
I just make people give up.
No, and I tell that to Roz a lot. Like, I do believe it's predicated on never questioning the intention and work ethic. So
motives, yeah.
Right?
Which boils down to trust.
Right.
You guys
so
trust, right?
Like, for example, I don't love traveling, right? Like, we're in Nashville,
yeah.
and Roz gets it, my wife. but you know, it's a burden. Like it's hard. You leave 2 kids, and I'm like, if Fern asked me to go, I'm like, he really thinks I need to be there. It's not like I don't ever think Fern's like, I'm trying to stress you out. And then 2,
That's not true at all.
and then 2, I also like recently, like Marcus has stepped into a slightly different role, and like I see the effort he's putting in there, and I'm like, I need to do this because I see how hard he's working, and this feels like it's like you like I said, it's a lot of trust.
And I know
if we had like the meeting issue, it wasn't really a meeting issue, but like
It was a discussion about this. Like, hey, we're spending a ton of time like talking about the things, and Jay and I we're not opposed. We were kind of on the opposite side. We kind of were talking like, hey,
you and I were aligned.
Jay and I were aligned, and then we were all aligned when it was done. But we were like, hey, this is actually slowing us down, and I understand the intent behind the meeting, but like, there's got to be other ways to do this where we don't have to do this 5 times a week. Like, we need to go and like be doing shit.
Yeah.
You know, like if you don't have your end product at the end of the week, then let's have a meeting. Like, why are we not done? You know what you need to do. And the cool thing that I expressed to Marcus was because Marcus likes to build things. He loves it. It's his superpower.
Legos.
And I said, hey, dude, like, you built the people and the systems that everybody can run freely. Now we need to let them run freely.
Yeah.
And then we need to get aligned when we need to get aligned. But I said, I have zero reservation about anybody in here doing their job. Like, none. Like, shit will get done. It'll get done better than we think it's going to get done. But we had to go through that whole phase of building the underlying infrastructure that we can pop in there and look at something and be like, okay, that's done. That's on track. We don't need to have a fucking meeting about it. Like, You'd be like, hey, we have a meeting and give me the update. I'm like, go look at it yourself. Like, we don't have a fucking meeting about that.
The coolest thing, I think, we're joking with Cody, but I show up at the hotel yesterday, and Cody's having this meeting. I'm like, that's a pro over there. I was like, that sounds like a professional having this conversation with a partner, and I was like, I'd be proud for that guy to be representing us. And it was like 2 years ago, he's just some.
That's cool.
What's the PC term for like hick from the backwoods, like of
I don't
Huntsville,
think there is
Alabama?
one. I think you've already jumped over the line.
But you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Cody, what do you call a hick from Alabama?
A hick from Alabama?
Like, is it like you were like a hick from Alabama?
What's the PC term?
And now you're a pro. I'm saying, I'm giving you a compliment.
He's a pro
You just
hick.
can't hear the rest of it.
He's just leveled up.
Yeah. What is it? Cousins. But no, and then
He was just a cousin
and
before.
then also Katie, of course, like seeing her, like, it's just really cool, and like that's can be attributed to Marcus and some of the meetings, but it's like really, like, that's the coolest part about our job.
How I think I know this number, but I think we talked about it before. How big is your team?
80.
Like 80-ish?
80s, probably encroaching on 90s, if not already, but soon.
Okay.
And what's your exact title?
The king of
King? King like
CEO.
me? You're CEO?
Yeah,
He's
yeah,
king CEO.
Definitely not a king.
Have you seen some
Well,
people?
it's CEO, but the chief is spelled with a K.
Okay. The KEO. But hey, before we get too deep into this, Dan and I were together at UFC last weekend.
I know.
And
He said he
Denver the
choked you
weekend
out.
before.
And then we
Denver the
get
week
together every
before,
Saturday.
Shit.
But Fern had the opportunity to be be last minute.
You missed it?
Last
I did.
minute.
It could have been all of us. It could have been.
It
We could have done the
could have
podcast
been. I did.
from 300.
This is
Yeah.
this is one of the few times I said no.
Joe reached out, Joe TP from the Strip
The
CrossFit.
strip CrossFit, yeah.
He had great seats, and he was like, Wednesday night I was telling you calls, would Fern want to go? I was like, probably. Like, I was like, if anybody would go on a Wednesday to like Saturday trip, and I text him, and I actually said, he said like hesitantly no, and I said, Joe, I think if you give me till the morning, he'll actually go.
Well, I'm glad you didn't. 'Cause
And
I probably got your seat.
he was like, I can't wait till then. Yeah. I was like, I bet you tomorrow, like, if I get on the phone with him, he'll go.
I really wanted to go, but I knew all the travel, and I'm going to be gone for 3 weeks. And I was just like, oh, I can't. Like,
He's going to Harvard. Did you know this?
No, for what?
He's a student.
You're going to Harvard.
I got a janitorial job there.
No, he's going there to work. Yeah,
I'm going to go there and write equations on the chalkboard.
No,
yeah.
he's literally going to be a.
What do you like? What MBA? What are you doing at Harvard?
Have we announced this on the podcast?
We
Breaking
did
news.
just now, yeah. No, I got into an executive program there.
In the MBA or what?
Yeah, so it falls under it's a owner president management course. It's a 2-year program.
Dope.
Yeah, so
I've been thinking
You got Harvard? You got Harvard grads on PushPress?
My board. Harvard guy.
I'll see if I can make some phone calls and maybe pull some weight.
Harvard's pretty. Yeah, there's a lot of fucking smart people there, money people there.
And Fern.
And Fern.
No, I started. I told him like maybe a year and a half ago. I was like, hey, I think I'm going to try to do this, and then I told him in December. He was like, I forgot. I thought you were just joking.
He literally he was like thanks for not telling anyone. I was like, I forgot. I was like,
I really had zero faith. Like it was gonna happen anyway. So.
No, we going back to the ideas thing. Like it was like I might try to go to Harvard. I was like, all right,
cool.
Like
do it
quickly. I was like, is this more work for me for those 3 weeks? Which turns out it is.
Yes.
And
but since you don't do anything normally, I
it's
figured it would
normal
all balance
amount now.
out. Yeah.
Normal amount. But yeah, because at our mastermind here actually in Nashville, he told everyone for the first time, his parents included. It was really cool. Nate, can you insert that little clip there?
So I call up Nancy. I'm like, hey, it'll just be me. Like, I got to get a babysitter for the kids, and we go out to have a couple drinks. Fantastic lady. And we're at dinner, and we're kind of joking around and having a good time. And I do what I normally do is I kind of make a joke about being a dummy. And she got really mad at me. And she grabbed my hand and she goes, no, you need to promise me that you're going to stop saying that. And outside of marrying my wife, I don't know that I've made a bigger promise to anybody. After that conversation with Nancy, I was like, I'm going to make a change. And I told Jay and I told Marcus, I said, hey, I'm going to do a thing. And Jay was like, okay. Marcus was the complete opposite. He was like, I actually don't think you need to do more things. So I decided to change all of that. All right? I was like, hey, and what I decided is like, I have to kill the dummy. That identity can no longer exist. It is not going to allow me to get where I need to go. So I went through that whole process, and then last month, I got accepted at Harvard Business School.
So I had poor grades at the Naval Academy, so a horrendous student, and because of all that, I always identified myself, and I would always always identify as a jock or dumb, and I would be very deprecating about myself, which I don't have a problem with being self-deprecating, but I was having a conversation with somebody that I very much respect and look up to, and in that conversation, or it was probably more of a scolding, it came
the mom
with Nancy, and it came out that I was like, oh shit, you're right. That is actually an identity that I'm carrying around. I'm like, I need to.
And the deprecation was actually you.
It was actually
making light of it.
Correct. Yeah. And I went through a whole process, and then what was funny about the whole thing was, I go through the whole thing, I get accepted, I tell him, and then I'm like, don't tell anybody. And then I was like, 2 weeks later, I was like, that defeats the whole purpose of this whole thing.
Don't let anyone know.
Yeah,
I'm smart.
So then he turned it into a 1 hour presentation where he told everybody.
No, that's not what the presentation was about. But that was part of my process of working through, like, being able to say it out loud. Yeah. Like, hey, even to the point where we were at the summit, and like Jomo came, like Todd came. They're like, "Oh, congrats, dude!" And I was like, "How the fuck do you know that?" And Todd Okuda was like, "Oh, I put it in your mentor report." And I was like, "Oh shit, that would have been nice to know." And but to the point where I have to actively pause when somebody says that and say, "Thank you, I appreciate you."
It's hard acknowledging.
It's fucking so hard, dude.
You know, we talked about Unlifted earlier. That's one thing I really got from the level 2.
Yeah.
Like, when you get a compliment, thank you.
Yeah.
Because my wife, we do like
Yeah.
a monthly counseling, and like I was realizing, she doesn't really accept words of affirmation well. And I was like, let's just when I tell you like you're doing great, like thank you.
Yeah. I have a hard time with that too. Normally it's like, oh, you did it. Oh, but you don't know about the problem. Like you bought a house. Oh, but we have leaks in our, it's like you always spin it back into something negative, which is when you're on the other side of it, it's kind of annoying. But I don't know. It's a habit for me too. Like I will always downplay everything that comes my way. Bad habit.
We could do that to I think it's
to a fault.
Important to be like never settle, but then equally important to appreciate where you are.
I think honestly, if I'm speaking honestly, I think it has a lot to do with the affirmation of self. Like sometimes I look at myself and I'm like, whoa, like how am I here?
Yeah, I think we all experience.
Yeah, right. So a lot of imposter syndrome, or like I shouldn't.
Right.
I shouldn't acknowledge this because this isn't me maybe.
Right.
You know, I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah.
And you see that, we see it every day in affiliate ownership, and I like
Well,
to remind.
it might be that whole identity thing might be soft talking knowledge here, but it might be one of the biggest hurdles that affiliate owners have to get over. Like
I'm not a business owner, or
yes.
Well, then-
yeah. Like they're, I'm not in it for the money. I'm like, that is a devastating mindset.
like
And
you've just told yourself that is going to happen.
and it's which is very different than I'm here to make to siphon money off of people. Like those things are not the same. I'm here to make money is not the same as I'm here to siphon as much money off of everybody as possible. They're not the same, but everybody feels that they're the same.
Yeah, I mean, the bottom line is this: money was invented as of how can I say this? Money is actually an expression of value.
Mm-hmm.
Because you can't just trade chickens for pies all day, right? Like you've got to give them something valuable that they can turn into something else valuable later. So if you think of it that way, as long as you provide a tremendous amount of value, you will make money.
Right.
Because it is what happens when you provide value. So you don't have to open a business and think about, I'm trying to get money, provide value, and you will just make money.
Right.
Like that's just what happens.
And you can do whatever you want with it.
Yeah. So I think it's okay to center on the fact of like, I'm here to just be the best gym, provide the best service, change fucking lives, because the money will come, but you shouldn't tell yourself I'm not in it to make money.
Because you'll never make money.
Yeah.
And then you will ultimately not be the best gym or the best variation of that you want to be. You will be stifled by lack of resources.
Yeah. Money is just the result of value. So as long as you're focused on providing value, you're telling yourself like money is the scoreboard of the value I'm providing, then you'll make the money and provide the value. You'll win both sides.
So on that note, what are some of the things you guys at PushPress are focusing on currently with regard to value? Because I know I've been on multiple phone calls with your team about all sorts of different projects. You guys got a lot of shit going on.
Oh, yeah, do we? I mean, I started PushPress for pretty much one reason. When I opened an affiliate, I felt ripped off by the companies I was doing business with. So everything that we've kind of centered around and like the philosophy and culture that we built is kind of to protect, like these gym owners should be building gyms and focusing on providing value to their customers. End of story. That's what they love doing anyways, right? Then that's what they're good at. But they don't know how to negotiate payments contracts, and they don't know how to negotiate or be involved in like some of these business transactions that are happening, nor I think should they. So it's like, I think our value prop is to create business systems for them that transcend just the operating system, but help them scale back everything they're doing to just focusing on their customers, right? Which means like help them find apparel, help them get insurance, help them find equipment, help them run their business, help them do operations, help them communicate, lead funnel, like all of that stuff I think is our job eventually. And that's where we're going with the whole thing.
Something you brought up at the last summit specifically was affiliates that had more people sign up for the open had better retention. I was interested to hear more about that because one of the things sometimes I tell like affiliates is, hey, certainly with like local comps, like why are we doing this? Is this important? But even for the open, I obviously believe in the open, but a lot of affiliate owners push it, and that's
so crazy.
It's an ask. What do you think's crazy?
What do you mean, they don't do the open?
No, they all do the open. I'm
Okay.
saying, but a lot of them can go too deep down the rabbit hole and like, it's an ask. Like it's $20 that you don't get. I understand the value of it, but then you said that, and I was like, maybe I need to rethink a little bit my mentality of it. And I'm interested in. We haven't really spoken about that. So,
well, I'll let Dan go, and then I'll give my thoughts on it.
So we don't know if someone's paid $20 for the open or not. I'll clarify that right off the bat.
Okay.
All we know is the way we can tell is if they've named a class a certain name.
24.3.
Yeah, 24.3, Friday Night Lights. Like there's certain things that all gym owners kind of name it. So we've kind of picked those out and then pay attention to the membership trends of the people that are attending those events or not.
Specifically, okay,
Yeah.
so you can dig that deep. Yeah. And what were you noticing?
Yeah, I mean, it was dramatic. It was like the people that attend, and the cool thing about this one, it was over the whole year. Like I actually had them look across the whole year.
They attended more classes over the year?
No. If they went to 3 or more open events, which shit, what is it now? 3 or 4?
It's 3. It used to be 5.
Yeah, so I think we were looking back. So now it's 3. So I guess if they go to 100% of all the open events as of, last year, their churn rate was like a third. Like it was significantly lower than.
It makes sense. I mean, they're more committed to CrossFit, right?
It's a data point of the larger community
Yeah. And
topic or
what,
thing.
What I thought was interesting, what I was extrapolating from it a little bit was like, it's almost like UFC, right? Like you go to a UFC event, you start to recognize some names, you're starting to pay attention to things, and it's like, oh, well, this guy moved up in the weight class or whatever, right? Like you're actually paying attention to stuff. Like, if you actually do the Open and then you kind of see the quarterfinals, there's some people in your region that make it, or someone that
Come cheer on the people at your box, right?
And then it's like that person makes it to the games, and then you're following the games and you're watching it on ESPN or you're watching on like YouTube or whatever. It's like this is a whole season that actually just it isn't just February. It's like it goes all the way into August.
February, yeah, it's literally 75% of the year.
Yeah, right? And then once that's done, it's like the hangover's over if you've bought into it, and it's like, oh, the New Year flipped and then we're doing it again. So it's like it actually is a pretty good retention engine if you can get people bought into that whole
thing. It's a correlate of their investment into the idea of CrossFit. Yeah.
But I was looking at it more, you're suggesting it's not just that now they're more active at the box, which is part of it, but it's like, oh, I'm a CrossFitter now, and
it's
I
an
follow
identity
CrossFit.
Thing. Yeah.
I was thinking more, well, if someone does the Open, they're probably just more invested in their own growth and development as a CrossFitter, so they come in more.
So, I mean, I think, and this is anecdotally speaking, I think more people get into the CrossFit Open and games who have no shot, don't care. Well,
data,
not even no shot, but don't care about being competitive, but do care about being on Team Red, and Team Red doesn't want to do burpees at the end because Team Blue beat them. It's like there's those things.
I did make quarters, and I didn't do the quarters.
Well, you still have time.
Damn it. I didn't even look at the workouts. Did you look at them?
I have no idea what the workouts are. Nate, do you know what the workouts are?
Cody definitely does.
Cody does.
But CrossFit is sending out too many emails. I got like 12 emails.
No, stop that, dude. Listen, we're just getting up to an appropriate threshold of communication. Leave them alone, dude.
I think I'm getting them.
There's no such thing as too many emails. Can we just talk about that?
That's fair, but I think I have multiple emails subscribed to it. I think I get bombarded. I think I get the one that I'm like registered, and then I get my @CrossFit email.
I'll give you that app, and you can unsubscribe from all of them.
But I'm afraid, I don't want to unsubscribe because once in a while they'll send out relevant emails, but I also don't know yet. But okay, they're not sending out too many. I'll give you. No different than at your affiliate, too much communication.
There's sending out too many. You can only send out too many if they have no relevance.
I felt like I was getting the same one multiple times.
Well, you probably are, just across multiple different emails. My beef with the Open has been this. I agree with you that is probably an indicator that most people are not looking at. My whole beef with the Open was the energy allocated to running the Open. That has
like Friday
always,
Night Lightsy stuff.
Yeah, that has always been my beef. Where for instance, we'd be working with a box owner, and I won't give any names because it doesn't matter because there's so many of them. But that there's in a list of 100 things that they need to be working on that would move the needle in the business. The Open doesn't make the top 100,
especially not the taping of the floor.
Right.
And shout out to I don't know if Dave or Boz did the program.
I think both. Yeah.
But I think they really looked at it from a better perspective this year.
Yeah.
They kept it. I had a great conversation actually with Joe Tepe at his box, and by the way, can't wait for you to see his gyms when we go to Vegas. They're really nice, But he was saying, we were talking about I was like, I made quarters, I should not be making the quarterfinals, and he's like, no, I love it because, back in the day, how many times did you tell an athlete do the Open, and it was double unders, right? And it's like they're immediately out, and it's like now. We can make the first 3 workouts. Anyone can do them. The cream still rises to the top. But those that really want it qualify to slightly
It's a larger top of funnel with an appropriate kind of secondary screening process.
He really changed my thought on that. I was like, is 25% too much? But it's like, if the right people are going there, now there's handstand push-ups or a barbell snatch, and it makes more sense. So I think, assuming Castro and Boz and the rest of the team thought about it from that perspective.
I do. I think I have nothing to back this up. Again, this is just me observing and anecdotal. But we had a ton of gym, even my gym, and we probably had I think this is accurate. We had better participation, both in signing up for the Open, but overall Open participation in the gym than we've ever had in 15 years. And I heard that week over week over week as we were working through the Open, as we're working through affiliates. And then if I think back about it, or back through it, it was easy to facilitate. Like none of the workouts came out, and I was like, oh shit, dude, like this is going to be a
one was
logistical
long,
nightmare.
Number 2, 24-2 was
20
long.
minutes, okay, whatever. But
it was
like,
also
how often do you do a 20-minute workout in your gym?
And
All the time.
Rower, double
Deadlift.
under, and a barbell.
Yeah.
So like minimal equipment.
Yeah. So
yeah,
it was.
But
That's always been my beef. It's just the shutting down of all the important things, or taking high priority projects, whatever, pushing them off to the side so that you can facilitate the open. Not that the open's not good. I don't think it should supersede things inside of your gym.
Yeah, I can see that, because it becomes such a mental, like we actually see it in the numbers of our business. It's like our demos go down, our sales go, like everything goes down the minute the
People
open
shut it
starts,
down.
because everyone just stops.
But at what point is that okay based on your data of so does churn?
So, I mean, on that end, this is the interesting thing about business is like everything's a rob Peter to pay Paul situation. There, like everything's a finite resource. So it is good that I think it's really good if it reduces churn. I think it's really good to get your members into it. But if you aren't, doing critical business operation stuff on a Tuesday or a Monday, because you're so worried about what the open's gonna look like on Thursday, like I don't know if that's good either, right? So,
people are having meetings with their teams, and who like, because the open's coming up, I'm like, you've not done a monthly team meeting in 8 months. Like, what are you doing?
Who runs the open at your box?
The newest coach we just hired, Caleb. He ran it.
And I think
he came in as like, I want to run it, and I'm like, perfect. So bring me through the plan. He crushed it too. He did a fantastic job. But we also leveraged it a little bit differently this year, where we had the coaching staff, but then we brought in the ambassadors as well, and we made them the team captains. And they actually drove it better than the coaching staff has in the past. Well, because they're invested. It's their team. They're the members. We just empowered them, and we made it super easy for them to we gave them all the tools and resources to communicate, and they smashed it.
Well, and point being,
I think we had 97 people, like out of whatever. I don't know. It's a high percentage, more than we've ever had.
But you had somebody else, like that's how it should be.
Yeah.
Like the
ownership, hand off ownership, and then you can still focus on what's important to the business.
Yeah, and when I gave him other resources, so it was, and he was, so Caleb was essentially creating the teams, the rules, the structure, and then Blake, who is one of my other coaches, she does all communication. So anything that goes outbound to clients, that communication has to be run through her. So she organizes it, all the emails, texts, like announcements and all that other stuff. It has to go through her. So he doesn't even have to do that. I'm like, you need to tell her what she needs to get out. So when you make the rules, you give it to her, she sends it out. And then Cassidy's job is to make sure that we can make sure that we get the programming input so that there's no hiccups in logging and all that other stuff. So it was a 3-person, but each person only had like a finite amount of tasks or responsibility inside of that.
What's your wife's role in the company?
She does the websites for our clients.
Where'd you meet her?
At the gym. She was like one of my first clients at my
second
gym. Oh yeah.
I've never met her.
Maddie.
She's not here right now.
So she was a member of the gym?
She was one of the first. Yeah,
is that a metric that you guys track if your owner dates a member?
I'm like, hey, nobody can date a client starting now.
Yeah.
New rule, everybody.
What was the name of your box?
Torrance CrossFit.
In Torrance, California?
Yeah.
And tell me about this. She walks in.
So she walked in so she had went to the regionals. This was in 2013.
As a competitor?
No. Like she just happened to go to watch it. Like just randomly went. She was like not.
So obviously one of the West Coast.
San Diego. Yeah.
Yeah, this is still regional time.
She got pulled in by a friend who's like, hey, come. Like we're in San Diego. Let's just go watch the regionals. And it's Jamie was my business partner, and it just so happened like that person knew Jamie Aguia, and so. They sat in our fan group, but I didn't know at the time. So they were kind of like, she got in. It was the whole thing. Like she got up, like energy was there. Where she was rooting for someone.
It was like you at the UFC. It was really fun watching you. It was interesting too because I remember specifically the Oliveira fight. Right?
I don't even know who he is.
He was the
blonde, the Brazilian, yeah.
And he had the Darce at the end, and you're like, he's almost. I'm like, that's not even close, right? So it's interesting. It's interesting to watch like someone that doesn't know, but was still enjoying it.
Yeah. So anyway, she got super into it from regionals, and then our gym was like across the street from her house. It happened to be, so she came over, and she came in before we were even open. Like the rig wasn't installed. We literally had
She was like day one member.
Yeah, like we were just getting the flooring down. It was when it's just 4 walls.
She's
and
the founding member, and he felt obligated. He's like, you just have to kick this thing off.
He was just like,
will you marry
every
me?
membership comes with a date.
this is how CrossFit works around here. So yeah, like we the toilets weren't even installed yet. We had like a traffic cone upside down in a hole, like in the bathroom, that, like we were all peeing in. Like this is like serious CrossFit stuff. But yeah, she came in with her brother, and I thought her brother was her boyfriend because they were like super close. So I was like, just gave all my attention to him.
Is she Hawaiian also?
She's Guatemalan.
Well, yeah.
Yeah. And anyway, so like, and then I found out brother wasn't her boyfriend, and then it was just like.
That was weird that they were kissing, though, right?
So we're like, it's fine. It's fine. We're cousins.
So, and then, how long was she a member before you broke the rules?
Oh, we broke the rules like almost from the gym. Like, well,
Was the gym even open?
yeah, probably just barely open.
What was it?
Like we were hanging out pretty quick.
Were you not even concerned about this? Like, I've got 3 members. I don't want to lose a third of them.
33%.
Churn is not
Churn
good.
is high, guys. Yeah.
I think it was so early in the gym. It wasn't even at the point where you're like worried about, oh, people are going to talk, or, you know, if it doesn't work out, this is what's going to happen. Like I just wasn't, I guess, thinking that way because there was so few people yet. It was like pre-open.
And then, how long have you been married now?
We've been married for 6 years.
So you
We've
dated
been together
for quite some time, like 4
We've
or
been
5
together
years?
for 11 years.
Yeah.
Okay.
What was your first date?
First time we like kind of hung out under the pretense of being together was like a July 4th weekend at the Hermosa Beachy area. We were kind of like out at a bar, hanging out. That was it.
And does she still do CrossFit?
She worked out at Proven today. She's actually been super into yoga lately, but after working out at Proven today, she's like, man, I miss CrossFit.
You see that a lot, right? Like, take your breaks. I've done it myself, and then you get back in, and you're like,
There's something
even
there.
at this trip, I've been training by myself at home, and I land on Saturday, immediately Uber to the box, show up at like 10:30 on the dot, and Joe's like, "You're my partner." I was like, he's got 3 gyms. I was like, let me just go to your barbell gym and work out. And he's like, no. And then we're in the middle of it. I'm like, this was fun. Like,
Which is the complete opposite of him being on our team at the Denver Summit, where he just literally quit and went off and sat on the table.
I did, but
Did you start that workout?
Yeah.
come on, that was
I didn't realize you started.
No offense to
I did see him at
Kevin.
the table though.
that was a over-programmed workout for teams with that many people.
It was a bit chaotic.
It wasn't that I didn't want to work out. It was you're moving 1 out of every 6 people. I was just like, let me get out of the way and let these guys.
I wanted
move.
to blame Kevin, but I was absolutely not paying attention to the workout brief, so it was definitely on me.
No, we did not pay attention, and we were trying to move more than we were supposed to, and we were still barely moving.
Still don't know what we were supposed to be doing.
I've told this story before, but back, the regionals were in the parking lot of my gym. And there's an old video out there, like doing a CrossFit documentary, like one of the small videos. And Castro was there with Brian McKenzie and Andy Stumpf, and he's like, this program's a little contrived, he says. And I like remember watching the video after the fact, like, oh man. And whoever was filming was like, what does that mean? He's like, and he holds up a piece of paper, and he's like, when you have to give out a piece of paper to explain the workout,
it's bad.
That. And that's what I had done on like the last chipper. It was like, prowler to here, take the weight off to do this.
Too complex.
Right, and that's what it made me feel like there. I was like, there's 4 different stations, like who's moving, like, you have 200 people, I get it. Cool. Partner up, 20 air squats, 20 push-ups. Like, I think that's a lost art of, like, keep it simple.
Yeah. Once you're in the middle of a workout, you can't make someone think.
Yeah, and it was like, well, one partner's doing this.
Wait, what am I supposed to be doing? What's this weird rep scheme? I'm
Yeah,
like,
it's got to be so dumb simple.
Yeah, and I was just like, let me get out of the way. And but anyway, I love seeing that. Like, or a member comes back, and then they're like, man, because I do the same at jiu-jitsu. Like, over the years, like, life happens, and you go back, and you're like, when can I come back? Because I miss this feeling.
Yeah.
Are you gonna start jiu-jitsu?
I think I am, actually.
He's gonna start. His daughter can beat him up now.
Daughter's doing it?
She's doing it. Well, they're both doing it.
Chappie's doing it now too?
Yep, he started. He's a lot. No, it's fun. It's fun to watch them.
I wish you
Jiu-jitsu is the first thing that Jess, my wife, and I committed. We said they're going, and I don't care if you like it or not.
If I could do it over again, I would have done it with my kids. Right,
and it wasn't about like we need
kids?
you to be.
They're college now.
So their previous marriage or just previous kids?
Previous marriage, yeah.
That's how I feel like. And Roz is on board, which I'm pumped about. We have to wait till she's 3.
I mean, there will be a time when I'm not going to force them, but given the opportunity, kids will just opt out in many instances where I'm like, no, we're going. This is going to be a thing. We're gonna teach you about like starting something and staying with it, and you will learn. And there is something I do. Like, she's very small. She will always be very small. I want her to be, number one, comfortable with physical contact, and then B, I want her to be at the very least capable of dealing or trying to deal with something. Like, you're not going to be able to fend off anybody.
And Logan's tiny, but I think there's a girl at jiu-jitsu. Her name's Nikki, brown belt, and I think like it's a disadvantage being small, no different than me.
For sure.
But at the same time, when I watch her, I'm like, if she got in real trouble, she'd be able to get away. I don't think she's going to choke out a big dude.
Like size doesn't matter if you know leverage and
it's just like it gives her a moment to get away.
I don't even think it has anything to do with that. I think more than anything, and this is Tony Blauer's thing, which is like recognition of violence or potential violence, if you are engaged in violence on a regular basis, is not something that's going to be foreign to you.
Right, and like Marcus and I were talking about hostage tape earlier, and I was like, there's moments where like, oh, you can understand why someone panics because I can't breathe out of my mouth. And I'm like, jiu-jitsu for me is like, that's fine. Like, I'll be... Right. So I'm interested to know, as someone that both of you didn't grow up like I did wrestling and then doing jiu-jitsu a long time, what do you recognize in jiu-jitsu to say, like, this is important? I mean, a lot of what you just said, but, like, you could be like, well, they're going to do taekwondo or karate. Like,
well, I think jiu-jitsu is just the superior.
So you can appreciate that even as someone that's never done it?
Oh, I don't think that's even it's very easy to recognize. Even if you don't know what you're looking, I'm like, oh, that's clearly... But that's the memes on Instagram always like. Have you seen the one where the dude breaks into the guy's house and he like sits down and then he scoots over to
he sent me that one like at least 8 times. And he's like, come on. Yeah, no, but I mean, it's true though, right? But that's cool to hear that. I think that's credit to the UFC, right?
It's practical, right? Meaning like
very practical.
You meaning like if we are going to get in a fight, like outside of like a couple of swings, the 10-second flurry, we're going to end up on the ground in a very likely situation.
Did you watch that Holloway finish of Gaethje? Did you see? Dude, we were saying, I was like, normally I'm in bed and like that would have like piqued my heart rate a little bit, but when you were at the event, I was up. Like it was one of those moments. In my mind, I was like, I'm up and screaming right now. Like I was like, I couldn't even control myself.
Did you see what Dana White said about that? He said that the following 2 fights, like everybody was just wiped out.
Joe and I, we had tickets to like the suite area too, and like it was like I needed to like come down, and like I still watched the Zhang Wei Li title fight. Like I was still watching it, but I almost needed to be like further away because we were so close to the action. I was like,
oh, how close were you? Like real close?
We were row M, so that's like 12 rows up.
Oh, you were close as fuck.
But we weren't on the floor. We were in the...
It was better than being on... If we were 12 on the floor, like I wouldn't be able to see. Yeah.
Got it.
It was and then and then you kind of like came back and you were like ready for the Pereira fight.
That's a good one.
So you're going to start?
I am. I want to. I'm going to stay right here. I'm going to do it. Got to commit.
I'll help you find. If you Google give me your address, I'll help you. But you might move to Colorado.
I wouldn't mind it.
Don't do it,
dude.
Don't do it.
Colorado is the best. And
I kind of like Colorado.
And I've got Gaethje, Colorado. He trained under some of the people I know. Like
Gaethje's a fucking monster.
I mean, you come to Colorado, you have the best school around.
All right.
I wanted to kind of wrap this up with. I enjoy listening to your talks when you talk at the summits, but I didn't really get to like sit and listen to the one you gave in Denver. What was the crux of that talk that you gave?
Crux is basically this, and it kind of goes to what we were talking about. I think a lot of gym owners love being in a gym. They love doing fitness. They love working with their people. And I kind of like it to chocolate and broccoli, meaning like we like to do the stuff we like to do.
Oh, yes. Got it. Okay.
But we don't want to do the stuff that we have to do.
Right.
And this you probably face this a lot with what you do. But
I was talking about it in there before.
Yeah, the bottom line is, it kind of goes to the open. Like it is not a shocker to me that people put everything on hold to do the open, and they're having staff meetings for the open, but they won't have a staff meeting for the sake of the business.
Right.
And so it's basically that. It's like, what do the best operators look like? How are they operating? And shocker, it's like they're kind of working on the things they're doing the things that are more broccoli than chocolate, because that's what ends up opening up revenue and driving more value, right? It's not fun to build process. It's not fun to like think through a lead funnel or a communication sequence. It's fun to work out. You know, it's fun to hang out with your members. Right?
Why do you think that is the case? So outside of the we'll call it dopamine response, like, oh, I like doing this, because it's kind of like nutrition. Like they're not unaware that they should be doing this. Like, what do you think is the? I have my thoughts on why people don't do it, and I think it's just
I don't think it's I like doing it. I think I feel productive even though it's just busy.
Okay, that's
like
plausible.
Like we talked about with Jeremy. I gotta paint the rig. I'm like,
oh yeah,
no, you gotta do this hard work.
Yeah,
and also, I don't know where to begin. It's such a daunting, like jiu-jitsu for you guys, right? Like, I got to show up. I got to learn what a gi is. I got to do this. We're just like, cool, what can you do? Go home, Google the closest location, right? Like, what can you do to show up tomorrow?
Yeah. Yeah, so I mean, I think that's a lot of it. Is like we tend to gravitate back to what we either like to do or what we feel we're good at.
Right.
And 95% of gym owners started it because they were good at and loved to do fitness and help other people find fitness. And they didn't do it because they like to think about, you know, what their lead conversion rate is, or, you know, like all of the stuff that kind of seems second nature to us. Like when I watched your speech, I'm like, dude, that makes so much sense. Like the way you're breaking down the sales funnel and the way you're approaching like this 4-step thing, this all makes sense. But kind of to what Jason was saying, it's like, they don't even know where to start with that. So it's like we have to give them these frameworks and these ways of thinking about them that simplify it to a way where it's like you can execute on these things.
Well, when I finally started, for me, it was just understanding of those concepts, which is why I spend so much time trying to condense those big concepts into like, this is the idea. And because once I started to grasp those, then they actually became fun to me because I could manipulate them now. I'm like, oh, I understand it. Like now it's like jiu-jitsu. I'm like, I don't know how to do that. Like, I'm like, but once I figure out like, okay, this is where I need to be in order to get the leverage, in order to make that happen. Well, now it's fun. Being choked out fucking sucks if you don't know what you're doing. But if you understand it, like now I'm engaged with it and now it feels productive because I know what the outcome of this is going to be. So for me personally, it was lack of understanding. And the more of these talks that I give, I can see the light bulbs going off when you can kind of condense something like, oh shit. Like when I was talking about the key log, they're like, I totally get it now. Like the key log theory thing just goes off for people. They're like, oh, yep, log jam, move this one, frees up all the flow. So,
hey, remember at the summit, you were going to do that game?
Oh, the game.
Do you think it would be good to do on this?
I'll do it here, yeah.
Hey, let's do it.
Yeah, we'll do it.
Like right now?
Yeah.
What is it?
Oh, you mean right now on this thing?
Yeah.
On the podcast?
Yeah, well, that makes sense.
Would it even make sense to people? They have to do it with us. Would it make sense?
No, you had 2 people do it. Or you said originally?
It's really to set this table. That game was to set the table for everyone in the audience to understand that, like, you can't change more than one thing at once.
Well, let's do it.
You think it'll, I don't know. You want to try?
Yeah.
Do you know what the game is?
No, he doesn't know, but you were going to have me and Cody do it, so I knew about it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, let's do it before we wrap up.
It'll give me practice.
Oh, I know what you're talking about, but I didn't know what you were doing.
Okay, here we go.
Everybody's standing up and doing some shit?
Yeah, I don't know if this is going to work
we'll find out. We'll find out. If you're watching the show, tell us if it works out.
All right. Okay, so the object of the game here is to have 2 people try and recognize the change that happens in each other.
Okay.
Okay.
Easy move. This can be our first edit ever.
No, keep rolling. Are you rolling still?
0 edits.
Yeah, no edits. We don't edit.
I don't know if this is going to work, but we're going to try.
Yeah, let's try it. I'm excited.
I have to get that out of my head. This is going to work.
Yeah.
So if I think it's not going to work, it's not going to work.
Correct.
So the purpose of this game is to get people, to get the 2 people playing the game.
Okay.
To recognize the changes that are happening amongst each other.
Okay.
Okay. So I'll have you both stand up. Let's all will the camera catch us standing up?
I almost fell off.
Oh shit! I just stepped on my cable. Okay, so you guys are going to stare at each other. Awkwardly, deep in the eyes. And then, okay, so what I'm going to do is when you guys... Oh,
come down off here? Me and you. Yeah, you're good.
There you go. When you guys... Okay, so then I'm going to have you turn around and stare at each other, memorize what each other look like, and then you're going to turn around right now. Turn around. I'm going to call out a number, and when I call out a number, we're going to have Ackerman here change one thing about... something about himself to the numbers that I call, and then you're going to try and spot it. And if you can spot it, you win. You both win. Okay, ready? So the number will be 1.
Okay.
Just change one thing. All right. Go ahead and turn around. Can you figure it out?
What?
Yeah. Clearly, he's wearing sunglasses. Okay.
Good. He was going to pull down his pants. But it's a good thing. Okay, now you're going to turn around again. We're going to do it again. Okay, and the number this time you're gonna change. Okay.
Okay.
On this side, the number of things that I tell you to change. You ready?
Okay.
9.
Holy shit.
9 things. Okay. So I have to name all 9?
Okay, turn around.
Okay. So I have to name all 9?
He didn't get 9 done.
I didn't get 9.
So okay, so
Can I tell him at least how many I got?
How many did you get?
Well, you moved your
Jason's playing
glasses.
this all the way.
I know he moved his glasses. That's all. Did you change your shirt? Are you dressed now? Were you naked earlier?
I was naked earlier.
I only
Yeah.
know
I changed 3
your
things.
watch
2.
2. He got it.
and the other bracelet.
Oh, 3.
Damn.
I
Good
see.
job.
I see.
I see all the way. So, but I mean, I'll play this game with the crowd
In fairness,
today.
I don't think I would have gone unless you like did something drastic.
Right.
The idea with
I
this,
think when I moved my hand, you picked it up.
where this game's supposed to end, to be honest, is when you said, "Oh shit." Okay.
Yeah.
Because the idea here is if you come back to your gym after attending one of these summits and you're like, okay, here's what we're going to do. We're going to change our lead funnel. Michael has talked about this leadership thing that I'm going to work on. We need to redo sales. We need to do this. Your whole team's going to be like, oh, what the fuck?
Right.
Right. It's just too much. So the concept here is like when you're operating a business, you want to change one thing at a time.
Oh, that's literally what I
Sunglasses.
talked about in there.
You did?
Well, so when this is the kind of like the key log theory. So this actually dovetails perfectly.
Perfect.
So the key log theory is in logging. They still do this to some extent, but let's just say that you were going to go. You've got this densely populated forest. You're like, hey, we need to cut all these logs down, and we have to move them hundreds of miles. And they're like, well, we could load them on trucks, and it's going to take forever. It's going to cost more fuel. Like, or we can dump them in the river, and we'll pick them up 100 miles downstream. And when doing this, what would happen is there would create obviously log jams. And then, so they're like, how do we solve this problem? And a lot of people are like, all right, we got to start pulling logs out of the river so that we can get this thing to move again. And what they found was they had these guys, and they were experts at this. They would come and they would analyze, and they'd be like, you need to move that log right there.
The one log.
The key log, right? So the key log would unlock everything. And where I was taking that was, if we break down the sales funnel, I said, there's 5 choke points here. You don't fix all 5. Yeah. You fix the one, which is your key log, which gives you some flow, and then you will find a different log jam, and then you will identify that one. So you work your way through the process, identifying the one that is typically like the least amount of effort to fix, right? Because they're like, that, if we just move that single log right there, this whole thing will start to move and we'll be okay.
Yeah.
And so it's the exact same thing, which is like you can't because if you start just pulling random logs out, you're never actually going to fix the log jam.
Yeah, and then you can't analyze what actually made the change work, right? Yeah, so I mean, personally, I loved your sales talk. I think sales is the most important thing gym owners need to learn, and it's actually fun when you start to understand, like, we're looking at a funnel, everything has like a flow, and if I work on this one thing right now, I can open up the flow here, which will everything. I think what people forget in business is like you are in the business to break another piece of your business. If you're succeeding, you're always breaking something else, right?
They're like, I broke it. I'm like, congrats.
Great. Like let's move on to that one next. Like you graduated, right? So it's something I think people shy away from because they're afraid of like, oh, I'm going to create more pain. But that's the whole point is like you're always breaking something else when you open up something else. Like,
right.
So anyway.
Well, I think the game worked.
It did work.
The first thing he said was, oh shit. And that's the point is like normally when you do it, like you see the whole audience go like, they just freeze. They're like, what am I supposed to do with 9 changes? I don't even know what to do. You're a fucking trooper. You started doing 9 changes.
I also think
I wish I should just let him go. Like, where would you have gotten? Like, pants off?
I definitely would have taken his shoe off, probably.
From the consumer perspective, like when I'm watching, right, like when he's doing the 9 or coach, it's like
confusing.
That's confusing. It's stressful, right? Like versus like, obviously you just put sunglasses on. Yeah. Now I know. Yeah, that was great.
Yeah.
I can recognize what's happening. I understand what you're doing. Like maybe you have the chance to communicate it. Like it just becomes simpler.
And I like what Fern said. Where you don't know if you do too many things, what is working.
What did it like? Wait, it's just nutrition, right? Like I changed everything. Well, which one of them actually like moved the needle?
Because all you had to do is this little thing, and you might have gotten 90% of the results.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
So
well, that was awesome.
We didn't even have a topic, did we? We just kind of went.
I told you. UFC.
Good job, Cody.
Don't please. He likes to give us notes.
King Cody.
He's trying to wrangle us.
King Cody.
As you know, that's
we
one
cannot
thing.
be wrangled.
As we've grown, it's like, we were saying.
Here's your topics. Get
this
those
was
out of
earlier
here.
today. We were saying like we've got, nearly 1,000 episodes at this point under our belts, right? And it's like we've gotten better, but don't think those shitty ones at the beginning weren't.
It's like
valuable.
It's like coaching. I remember when I first coached my first class. Like the warm up was tough, the communicating, like everything about it was hard. But then eventually, like you could, your flow develops in a way that is just unique to you.
Well, I think there's a balance, right? And this is directly correlates to business, which is going back to where we kind of started this, which is, hey, if there's too much, then everything stops. So notes are good.
The right amount.
But if it's so structured that you and I were worried about, like, oh, what's the next topic? Then this sucks. It's just like, hey, give us a couple things, and then we will do that. So it's not that structure is not good, but too much structured will stifle the conversation, and we can't talk about the stuff that's
We're
important.
artists. We're artists, Cody. You cannot stifle us.
I made that sign back there.
Yeah. Well, that was great.
Yeah,
it was really great.
Was
I'm pumped to continue to see what you're doing. I'm pumped to hang out next Saturday.
What are we doing next Saturday?
I don't know.
We got to figure that out.
And I'm pumped to. We're gonna go at some point. Marcus included UFC with Joe and you, because he's right. He's in Henderson. Remember Donovan Degree?
Yeah.
At Henderson, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
He's in.
Henderson.
No, he's in Clarksville.
Oh, it's Clarksville. That's right. Is that close?
It's not far. It's not far.
I just remember that
Clarksville,
town.
Nevada?
I remember when I drove.
Tennessee.
Oh yeah. Why was I thinking Donovan? There's somebody else. But when I drove into.
You're way off.
way off. Hey, both tax-free states. Tax-free states.
Close enough.
I remember driving into Vegas with my wife, and we visited like Henderson.
Yeah.
Nice area. So cool.
Cool. Okay. Thanks, guys.
Dude, thank you. I appreciate what you do for the community.
Yeah. Thank you, Dan.
If you guys are interested
too.
in PushPress, reach out, and Dan will teach you how to do one thing at a time. Thanks for checking out this episode of the Best Hour of Their Day podcast. We appreciate you listening and choosing to have us help you in your passion for coaching and affiliate ownership. You can find more episodes just like this on all podcast platforms. If you're interested in learning more, you can reach out to us on any social media platforms, or you can visit www.besthouroftheirday.com to book a call. If you found this episode helpful for you, please share it so that we can help other coaches and affiliate owners to help build a bigger and stronger CrossFit community. Thanks for listening.